Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and thank you for being with us here. Excited to have my guy Schlegs back. We are fully back in the throngs of Ohio State football, college football, NFL. It's all going on everywhere. We're excited to talk to you guys about that as we have some great conversations going. First, we have an exciting event coming up here at the end of this month with Big Plays, the first annual Big Play Golf Invitational. It's August 31st. It's at Little Mountain Country Club in Painesville. Come and compete against guys like Josh Cribbs, Greg Williams, Hanford Dixon, Paige Sporanic, and many, many more. Of course, there's going to be plenty of garage beer, as you know, there always will be. Food, prizes. Get your foursome together. Come and be part of this awesome, awesome event. And so, Schlegs, I mean, the question is, who's the best golfer? I always tell people you're a better golfer than I am, and I'm good with that. Is your golf game? Do you feel like it's elevated here over the last couple of years, or has it slowly faded away?
You know, I'm going to be dead serious with everybody. One of my contingency plans after I got fired by the Jaguars is when you have a little bit of time and you're on a 3-year contract, you only served one. You're like, man, what am I going to do at this time? Should I just put it all into potentially Champions Tour, maybe making a late run at the PGA Tour? And I
Champions
messed
Tour,
up.
Schlegs, you got to be 50 years old for
I
that.
know, but I'm setting the foundation for that,
Okay.
Bob. So I went back and I got some sticks, custom made. And then I went out and played, and I started playing really good. I should have put some investment into maybe a coach as opposed to me figuring it out myself. My handicap at one time was in the single digits, but then I was like, this is not for me. This is not what I do. I enjoy being a hillbilly. I enjoy coaching and talking about ball. I enjoy the weight room. So when you're starting to think about all those things, it has now gone to the crapper. I'm probably like I don't know, like a 10 something as far as a handicap. And yeah, that's just where I left it. It's one of those things where I thought I could do it, but guess what? I can't. Those guys
What
are
do you mean you
special.
can't? Like, they're really good. Schlegs, I feel like it's just more of a consistency thing, which is like anything in life. That's
Yes.
really all you need is more consistency to be able to get something done. So that's exciting. I feel like you would be able to do that. And as we dive into consistency, Buckeyes are consistently going to be like on the field now as they started their practices Thursday, August 4th
Yep.
or 1st through the 4th. Fans were there. My local radio station, 97.1 The Fan, was there. A lot of excitement, a lot of great things going on. They're going to have Monday off, move into the hotel, and then they get fully into all of training camp. Schlegs, I know you got to get out there to see a little bit of it on Thursday. I was out there some Friday. Some of your initial takeaways as you kind of got this thing rolling.
Well, initial takeaways are you got two big competitions going right now: quarterback position and the right guard position, and just who's going to take that. Had somebody out the first one, and that's really what you want to see. We always talk about competitive excellence at Ohio State, and then it really comes to fruition when it's camp and how are guys going to handle that. And honestly, when you take in consideration everything that you do from a strength and conditioning perspective and the volume that you're acquiring on the field before you go to camp, like there is no shape like football shape. It's just different. It's
Yeah.
just different. And then being able to go into camp, again, how it's set up, you go in and you have 4 or 5 days off. Then they come back because the season is long. You have the 12-team playoff, and you're going all the way into mid-January now, January 20th, I believe. That is a long, long season. So again, when they come back into camp, the acclimatization phase, but then how are guys handling the reps? How are the coaches handling the reps? I got to see some really good things about how they're splitting up one reps. And, I think it was Devin Brown and Will Howard going simultaneously, just working on handoffs. They're accumulating reps within that practice, trying to, condense that practice time because volume is the killer. So they could have great quality reps so they could get a really good, clear picture as to who they want at that position. But that's what early camp is all about. It's going into that first scrimmage and those competitions. And besides the quarterback and the guard, to me, it's the linebackers and how they're going to utilize a very, very deep linebacker room, and just watching that all unfold at practice. But I love the intensity. I love the pace that they were practicing. It shows that they're ready to go and they're all in. And it was just great to be out there, Bob. After
That's pretty.
watching you complete 20 half gassers on your, and everybody's side nugget, this is the feat. I'm gonna brag on Bob a little bit. He is an abnormality. He is not normal. He's 41 years old. He ran 20 half gassers in 18 seconds with a 30-second break the entire single time. When we were in college, guys were crapping themselves doing this test, and now you're 41 and doing it with no problem. Very, very impressive.
No problem isn't I think that might be a bit of an exaggeration. Like I was sore, and the rest of that day, like I was walking around. It was my birthday, so I was trying to get some stuff done. I tried to lay down. I couldn't even really take a nap. I was kind of exhausted, but like wired at the same time. I had to coach, some youth football then that night. And as I'm walking around, like you can feel the quivering in your legs. And I was
Yeah.
like worried I was going to have a sudden onset cramp at any time. And I drank a ton of water. And the sad thing, it was like when I was younger, so like I used to be able to lean into that and, I could have a good time, relax. Like I didn't drink at all for 5 days leading into that, which I know sounds not like it's ridiculous, but for me, I usually have, some wine here and there. And, I leaned in. I didn't get a chance to maybe run as much as I was going into it. My back had been bothering me. And now I'm more worried about people talk about a hammy. I'm more worried about Achilles on one of those fast turns of like spinning around, popping. My calves start getting tight about 18. Our guy, Mike Stafford, tried to do it. I gave him the lineman times and he blew a hammy. He said on 18. He texted me on Friday. He went after it and he's a lot lighter now. I weigh Schlegs. I think I weighed about 40 that day, 238, which my freshman year I weighed about that same thing when we showed up to run that first test. So I appreciate the love there and all of the excitement and everything that happened. It was a fun day, fun time. I'm going to try to see how long I can make this an annual tradition. I've done it now for 2 years. It was kind of I'm a man, I'm 40. Can I still do it? Now I'm a man, I'm 41. We'll see. And it's just kind of tie a knot on the end of the rope. Do you think, can I make it to 45? Like, is that an admirable goal?
Yeah, 100% you can. And the good thing is, like Bob, you didn't train for this test. Like you just run all the time.
Oh,
And the way that you take care of your body, yeah, you can definitely make it. I mean, hey, guess what? Joey Galloway's still out there run. I guarantee you right now, Joey Galloway can go out there and run probably 4.51 right now. Maybe even. I don't know, man. Joey's an anomaly, just like you.
well, Joey would be upset if you said he's running a 4.51. He would still want to be in the 4.4s. He could go run the 20 half gassers. I know
Oh
that.
yeah, all
And he'd
day.
probably run them all in 16, 17, and he'd be cruising along like he normally would. And so I guess he might be the guy that I'm chasing. I mean,
Admirable.
I'm trying to chase him because I know that he'll always be able to do it. And the day that he can't, then maybe that's the day that I'll look at it and say, you know what? Maybe that's my goal. That'll be when I hang it up, and we'll see ultimately what happens from that point on. So we're long for a break here. We'll take a quick break coming up, but we've got some other stuff coming through. Talk about some of the schedules in college football,
Yes.
what they look like, how difficult they're going to be. Talk a little bit more about that Buckeye camp because we got derailed. Um, as so often we can on this show, but that was great. He gets digressed by me or whoever, maybe the bird that flew by the screen. But we'll get all that coming up to you because there's more thoughts from camp I want to dive into and talk about these schedules coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And before we got sidetracked from talking about camp, Schlegs was talking about me running half gassers, doing a conditioning test. I want to tell you about my friends over at Affinity Whole Health and what they've been able to do. Affinity Whole Health, they offer personalized treatment plans to help you feel better, whether you're struggling with weight loss, low energy, low libido, poor sleep. They can help you with all of it. Affinity Whole Health provides expert guidance and support to help you safely reach all of your goals. And they really have all of Ohio covered, folks. They've got locations in Cleveland, in Columbus, they're in Indy, they're in Chicago, they're all over the place trying to get it done. So don't wait any longer. Set up a free consultation by going to Affinity Whole Health. That's affinityWholeHealth.com. So go check them out. Been a partner there and a patient there for the last 6-7 years. So really excited. Now, one of the things that I saw there at Camp Schlegs, they were talking about this. The one thing Ohio State really didn't have last year, and this is why you saw the emergence of Devin Brown, was the quarterback run game. And the quarterback run game gives you some easy answers to the test if you're the offensive coordinator. On a 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 5, having the quarterback run is going to limit what the defense can do. And it's going to always give you that option to have an extra blocker at the point of attack. And so if you have a quarterback who's athletic, who's fairly large, you have the ability to go pick that up, and it's going to change the math. And so Chip Kelly now, this year, you look at all the quarterbacks, and maybe some more than others, but the three older guys, you talk about Lincoln Keenholz, you talk about Devin Brown, you talk about Will Howard. All of those guys are big physical guys, and they're all really athletic. And they have different strengths and weaknesses. But I heard this, and I didn't get a chance to see all of Saturday's practice. I was out there Thursday, Friday, but the buzz is this, this third and short, like kind of sweet boot that Will Howard was able to rip off like a 65, 70-yard, someone said 80-yard run. I don't know if he's pulling away on the defense like that, but I know he has the athleticism and the wiggle and good short range speed. So you would
Yeah.
probably agree with that. Maybe not, he's not out there probably running a 4.40, maybe not even a 4.5, but the guy can burst, he's got good agility, and he's big and can run through tackles. And so seeing that and like hearing that, I think that excites me. It should excite Buckeye Nation. I guarantee you it's exciting Chip Kelly for thinking of, hey, I always now have this in my back pocket because I know I'm going to have a guy out there, whoever we name the starting quarterback, that is going to be able to have a run element, and that's going to help this offense immensely.
Yes, that's the hardest thing when you're a defense is accounting for the quarterback position because of all the other threats that you have on the field at Ohio State. And you go look at what Chip Kelly did at UCLA, ripping off over 200 yards a game, rushing the football. And now you got Q and you got Trevion and you got potentially a quarterback that can do that along with, everything else that's in there and a Mecca and Caleb, even if you want to throw him in the mix. And let's not forget like the number 3 and 4 guy, right?
Yeah.
And Sam Williams Dixon and James People. I mean, like those are dudes too, and they're freshmen, right? So you have a lot of guys. And again, I look at it, I'm already thinking with that depth and what Chip did at UCLA, like, man, we're going to rip off 300. And to me, Will is very similar to a JT Barrett in this regard. He is going to go get you the really physical yards, right? And I remember last year we're just talking about, and people even talked about CJ Stroud just being able to move the chains. And this goes back into football. CJ is an absolute freak, but sometimes in college, you just got to be able to go move the chains. And when you have a guy like that and the presence like that, also a guy that's already won a conference title when he was at Kansas State, he understands that it's about another set of downs and do whatever I got to go do that. So I think he adds that element to that. And we saw in the spring game where they had both Keyshawn and Trevion in the backfield together, right? So like, guys, it's going to be very, very interesting, very, very fun to watch.
It's going to get frothy. So we'll keep giving you updates as they move along here. Like I said, Monday should be an off day, move-in day, and then really get physical. The pads will be on, the pads will be popping. And I know Ryan, talked to him on a radio show on Friday. He was really excited to kind of see where this team could go. And he's like, you don't really know until they get the pads on, but excited to see how they mix it up front. Chris Lowe, get into schedule talk now. Of ESPN put together an article about the toughest and easiest and kind of quirkiest schedules in college football for this upcoming season, Schlegs. Toughest Power 4 schedule. And I almost feel bad. People have talked about this with Billy Napier. I mean, you see the schedule that they put together. And Florida, they've lost a lot. There's been attrition there. And this isn't the Urban Meyer Florida team that everybody remembers. This is a different team talent-wise. But they play 7 preseason top 25 teams, including a 3-game stretch legs. Georgia, at Texas, LSU. They also play Florida State and Miami and South Florida, I believe, or Central Florida, all those in-state schools. There's a chance that they could maybe go 0-3 in the Sunshine State, let alone what's going to potentially happen in the SEC.
Yeah, honestly, you can't feel bad for anybody in the profession, but going on year 3 and then having let go of some staff previously, brought somebody in, then they left and went to BC. And it's like you're just having some turnover. And then you get this schedule and you've lost some guys in the portal. And now you have to face this with your job on the line. That's what I like to call bumpy with a capital B, all caps, exclamation point. That's tough.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. Easiest non-conference schedule, or actually easiest Power 4 schedule, rather. And this is someplace close to your home. And this is the dark horse I have for the ACC. And I looked at their schedule, I'm thinking, man, all they've wanted to do is be part of the dance. And you know what? They said they went full walk-on status. Like, hey, hold my beer. I'm just going to go. You don't even have to pay us. and that's SMU. They only face one preseason top 25 team. That's Florida State at home. They play them the week after they play TCU for the Iron Skillet. Now, they don't have the biggest home stadium that you're going to see. I think it's only 30,000 or so,
Yeah.
35,000. But I have to imagine that's going to be a raucous environment. And if they somehow win that game, Schlegs, I can't imagine how they don't make it to the ACC championship.
Well, I mean, you're coming off a year where I think it was, let's see, they won the AAC last year,
Yeah.
right in the second year. So, I mean, they have some momentum, but again, it's the ACC now, and you got Florida State at home, and it sets up well for them against other competition. But at the end of the day, you're now in ACC, and it's going to. The hardest thing about teams that are coming from an AAC type deal or the Mountain West Conference going to the Big 12 or whatever have you is the depth.
Yeah.
Right? It's the season duration and the depth of those positions because, you know, the Clemsons of the world, the Ohio States of the world, those ones that they're facing, they got depth. SMU doesn't necessarily have that depth. They have to develop guys. So when you look at like what are they going to be able to do at the end of the season, 100% is predicated upon injuries. I remember back in the day. Remember Boise State when they made on that run in Utah when Urban Meyer was there and they went on that run. Why? Everybody was healthy. Those type of teams, they have to remain healthy through the season if they're going to try to do some damage in the college football playoff.
Absolutely. 'Cause this, like you said, like you can't afford to lose a top line player. At a bigger school, yeah, we talked about the depth in the Ohio State running back room, the receiver room, all those smaller schools don't have that. And that's when you level up. It takes a couple of years usually to get there. But if you stay healthy, it works out. Quickly here, toughest non-conference for the Power Four, USC. They play both LSU and Notre Dame. Both of those schools ranked top 15. Easiest Power Four non-conference, Ohio State. And Ohio State and Syracuse are the only schools that do not play another Power Four school. If you look at who they have on their Schlegs, they've got Marshall. Who else? Akron.
They got Akron, Western Michigan.
Western Michigan.
Then they got Marshall. Then they got at Mississippi State or Michigan State.
So that's their first four and their first three. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Washington or Oregon was slated in this. If you go back and look a couple of years, and then they ended up pulling it out because Ohio State needed another home game to help balance funds. And then they were starting to talk about potential conference realignment, and there was rumors. And so I think that's it. Because if you look, I talked to Lowe about this, Chris Lowe, and he goes, if you look at Ohio State, they got Bama coming up. They've got Texas coming up. They just played Notre Dame. They play usually one big non-conference game every year. So it's not like they shy away from it. But this year, it'll give them a little bit of a runway as they're maybe trying to figure out that quarterback and maybe trying to get some things rolling and sink in. We'll have some other quirky schedule stuff and one school that I think could make a little bit of a run in the Big Ten. Plus, some of the big games of college football that you're going to want to circle on your calendar this year. All that next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the program. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on Bally's, we appreciate it. We love you. Always continue to keep getting interaction at Bobby Carp Show on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave comments. We love all the interactions. Going to keep it rolling here. We're going to go to a daily show here coming up soon as well to get you more content, as always, during the season. Some other quick scheduling quirks. Rutgers, Schlegs.
Yeah.
You look at last year, they played in a lot of big games, played a lot of teams really tough. They beat Miami, Florida in a bowl game. They came to play and beat them soundly by 14 points. Greg Schiano has that team believing. He has them tough. They've got pretty good scheduling. They're chopping wood, swinging the axe, whatever the heck he has out there. Scheduling quirk for Rutgers. They don't play Ohio State, which they played every year. They don't play Michigan. They don't play Penn State. The three big dogs in the East, they avoid them all. They also don't play Iowa, and they don't play Oregon. If you look at their schedule, like I think they have Virginia Tech, I want to say, is their big non-conference game. They have a potential to maybe win 8 games, maybe even 9, which would be massive for a school that really hasn't been relevant since Greg Schiano left the first time.
Yeah, it's not playing those 5 in an expanded Big Ten is pretty crazy. And the fact that you have 8 guys returning on defense, the running back is back. You know, if they can not turn over the ball, play great defense like they had, and have some ball control, and of course, Greg Schiano in big games, he's going to do whatever it takes to win. They got a chance to, make some waves in the Big Ten this year, which is absolutely crazy coming out of Jersey.
Oh yeah, wild. Other scheduling: UCLA, they got a tough 3 game stretch. LSU, Oregon, Penn State. One other interesting thing: LSU this year, they said they're trying to take over the Big Ten West. They play both USC and UCLA, and they play South Alabama. So Schlegs, you could even say they're trying to dominate all of LA, both Los Angeles and Lower Alabama, with everything they've got going on for the Bayou Bengals. And
Yeah,
then Cal, who is in the ACC now, under,
crazy.
which makes no sense at all, is going to travel over 12,000 miles for their 5 road games. So a lot of back and forth trips, a coast to coast conference. But Bill Connolly made a list of some of the best college football games coming up this year. And of course, Ohio State's making the list 3 times. You would think the game is always going to be on there.
Yep.
And we'll see kind of what happens there because there's some news that came out of Ann Arbor this week with some of the penalties now, which finally have been adjudicated since last year. But you also have Penn State and you are at Oregon going out to Autzen. Um, which of those 3 games, Schlegs, are you most looking forward to?
Well, I mean,
Outside,
I,
okay,
I'm
take
gonna
Ohio
take the
State,
team up.
Michigan out of it.
I'm taking that one out of it.
Team up
Uh,
north out.
I, I'm excited for this Oregon game at Oregon. It's earlier in the season and it's good versus good, and I like what
Oh, is
Lansing
the
has
good
done.
versus evil?
No, but it's just good versus like good on good,
Yeah.
like in the matchup games. And we talk about all the time. Sonny Styles talked about on the show last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago. I forget. My mind's going crazy, but you got to win your one-on-ones and that matchup games, details matters. And that really is the first matchup game of the season for us and where we stand. Cause we talked about their schedule. You go through a really hard camp because you have a lot of good battles going on. You play Akron, Western Michigan, whatever. Bye week, Marshall, Michigan State, boom, Oregon. So it's like, and then you have a bye, then I think it's Nebraska, then you go into the meat of it, right? So I like the way our schedule's set up, and I'm anxious to see good versus good matchup ball in a hostile environment to start the season. Because where that goes, like that kind of lifts you up for the rest of the year, and everything that everybody, all the players have been saying about the program, and everything that we've been saying about the program, really kind of comes out and is evident in that game on the road in that type of environment. That kind of sets you up for the rest of the year. So that's why I'm excited about that one the most.
Could even be setting you up for a rematch because there's potential for both of those teams to play
For sure.
again. Big Ten will take the top 2 teams. You almost think would it be better to win the second and lose the first if you're playing twice? Really hard to beat a team 2 times in a row. Or is there any concern? We talk about how big these games are. Oregon being that first big game, I think week 5
Yeah.
or 6. And you mentioned the schedule leading into it. Not the most difficult by any stretch. They should be healthy. They should be in a flow, be in a rhythm, have a lot of confidence, but they probably won't have been tested yet. And then you're going into a situation like that. Is there any concern that you may be going from like a level 1 or 2 to a level 8 or 9, 10 situation and making that jump to try to get that done?
I think you could have that when you have a younger team, but with a veteran team who's already been in those type of games and understand everything that's at stake, the only thing that you would be concerned of is playing tight. That's it. But they've already been there and done that. And it's like, man, just let it loose, guys. Like, what are we talking about? You're prepared, you're ready to go. Then just go cut it loose, enjoy it, right? Like when you come back for a senior year, like we did, Bob, like you and AJ had opportunities to go, you come back, you just let it rip, man. We're here for one reason. And so this is the game. Like, let's go freaking do it, right? And then we'll figure out the next week. But that's what I'm excited about. You would have those reservations if it was a younger team, but this being a veteran team, I don't have.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm glad that that's where you went with it because that's what I would have echoed as well. I mean, confidence comes in the knowledge of your preparation and knowing that you're ready to go. And these guys have been in big environments. You look at the defense, a lot of veteran guys are back. Same thing on the offense. You have a quarterback, possibly a Will Howard, assuming he becomes a starter, who's played a ton of football. He's 23 years old, been in big time environments. Like, I think you're feeling pretty good about the situation and ultimately how that looks. At Penn State, which could be bumpy this year,
Yeah.
it's going to be a noon game, so it won't be a wide out, which, it's a hostile and tough environment. But it's like you've been there as a player and as a coach. It's one of the best environments ever. It's one of the hazards, I guess, or one of the negative externalities of the Fox taking over and big noon because they want to put the premier game at noon, and I get it, But man, you just feel like you lose a little bit of that energy. And like as a fan watching it, you can feel it just pouring through your television set, even when you're sitting there in your living room.
Guys, one of my favorite games of all time. We happen to lose that game. I still think about it. Bob, they had 170 yards total offense in the freaking game. We 3-9 the
I
entire
love that you
second half.
always have all
I
the
have the
numbers.
Nuggets. I have the those are the two games, right? Like Texas in that game bother me still to this day. And in that environment, again, I'm 43 years old. I still get chills because I just remember walking through the tunnel and people shaking on the fence when we had to come from that little crappy locker room and we're walking through there. And it literally is like you're the gladiator, from the movie coming out. And like, there's just going to be like a Tigers or whatever. And and then or whatever. And you're going and it's just you and your teammates. It's one of the best feelings. It's why you do what you do. And even that weekend is going to be special because you also have Oregon, Michigan that weekend. So, it's a great environment. I wish our guys got to experience that one last time. It's why you enjoy going to a Camp Randall at a night and a Penn State at a night and an Ohio State at a night on the banks of the freaking Olentangy River that I swam one time early in college. But I mean, these are life experiences that I wish they were able to have this year.
Schlegs, remember this, and this might be why you said that. Then whatever comes out of that tunnel, we have a better chance of survival if we stick together. All right, lock your
Right.
shields, stay as one.
That's right.
We're gonna head around college football next. NCAA finally getting something done. Will it matter? Will it stick? Find out here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the program. And the NCAA finally making some move. A draft of the NCAA notice of allegations against Michigan. It's out. Schroeder was listed in it for deleting 52 text messages with Connor Stallions. Moore is a repeat offender since he also broke recruiting rules during COVID-19 during the dead period. They talked about him potentially getting a show cause penalty. They confirmed, Schlegs, as if there was any doubt at this point, that it was Connor Stallions on the Central Michigan sidelines, which all I told people, they're like, well, we're not sure it's him. I go, if it wasn't him, they would produce who it was. It's an easy solution. Like, and they couldn't provide, no, like it could be this guy. And someone goes, no. Here's that guy in this picture. He's wearing something different. He was on the sideline, but that wasn't him.
Listen here, it's tough, right? Like we're going into the season. We had to talk about this stuff because we had to talk about it, but it just kind of takes away from the fact of like everything that's going on. I wish they were able to handle it last year, and it continues to ooze its way into 2024 and everything that it's supposed to be. But the reality is this: it was him. We already know that. They've already had other offenses. We just got Kentucky that I'm sure you're going to talk about. And here's the thing: the NCAA takes time. It's a process. They're talking about things in 2021 that are now coming to fruition in 2024 for our university, right? It just takes time. You got to deal with it from our perspective. But at the end of the day, for those players that are up there and for players within the program that are hearing about it, it's just white noise, man. Like every day as a player, right? As a fan, we can talk about it. As a player, you just got to get out there and go do your job.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. And this has no impact on it. Like they said, they're not going to strip the national championship, and they probably shouldn't. They won the games at the end of the year, and they had probably gotten information earlier, but they were, give them credit. They were able to go out there and beat Alabama. They were able to go out there and beat Washington.
Yep, they did.
I mean, Jim Harbaugh's not there anymore. I don't know how much people care nationally about this. Yeah, I'm just curious of what they're going to end up doing to Sharon Moore since he is the current head coach. Like Jim Harbaugh's gone, you can't do anything against him. But what happens with Moore and how that ultimately slides out? But I'll tell you this: I don't think the people of Michigan care. They got their championship. It's the first one they've had in a long time, and they feel good about it. And so you know what? Like,
charge it to winning, Bob. That's what they did.
Charge it to winning. That is one of the most impressive lines. Hey, you know what? We're going to charge to winning. We're going to move on because there's another one that I found that, the Kentucky is going under probation. NCAA found that Kentucky had 11 football players that were paid for work they didn't do back in 2021, 2022. Kentucky and NCAA reached an agreement that they'd be on probation for 2 years, had to pay a fine, vacate records of any of the games where the ineligible players played, yada, yada, yada. this like to me is ridiculous because first of all, it sounds like something that happened in like 1990 or 1980, but also the fact that guys are being allowed to be paid now for NIL, and so they're going back and looking at this. I understand, but it'd have been one thing if that Kentucky team like won a national championship. They did not. They were a good squad. You know, Mark Stoops has it rolling down there. But to me, I just don't understand the point of going back and trying to figure this stuff out when we're in a full NIL era now.
Yeah, and it goes back to the Michigan thing of what you're saying, to where they're still hashing that out and what are those ramifications going to look like, and they're not going to take that. And then I go back to our coach Bob, and you go look at guys were selling things of which they were their own, right? Before he got let go, they were their own possessions that they traded in exchange or sold for services. Yeah. And yet they were suspended, and those guys lost games. Trust lost games. Ultimately, his job. Now, of course, you and I obviously love him, but it's like there's that context. There's the Ohio State one from Tressel in 2010 season, and then there's the Michigan one. It's like they're all the same, but they're all different, and you just don't know what to make of it. They're picking and choosing what they want to do as opposed to having a standard. It's why college football needs to be governed by one body, and it needs to be, again, going back to whether it's 64 teams or 70 teams or whatever the case may be, and that body runs football. And here's the rules, black and white. You violate them, here are the consequences. That's what they have in the NFL, and they get fined severely if you break those policies. That's what it has to come to.
It is, and they need to get it done in a more timely manner. That's the problem. This stuff taking forever to get to. By the time you get to it, it's like you're trying to punish your kid when they're 16 for something they did when they were 14. Go ahead.
Think about this, man. 2012, we're undefeated. Guess what? Can't go to the national championship game. Alabama got to beat the dog breaks off of Notre Dame in that game. If we went to that game, we beat Notre Dame. Oh, yeah. Same thing. It took them all that time, and then we get to the season. Oh, you can't play, right? Because remember, we went to the Gator Bowl. We were 6-7 and 11. Yeah. Right. We'd have gladly not gone to the Gator Bowl. We'd have rather gone to the national championship game in 2012. So absolutely. Again, it's just terrible.
It is. It's awful, and that's the way it's been working, though. But coming up next, we got our favorite segment of the week, brought to you by Garage Beer. It's Tailgate Talk, where we answer your questions about college football and the Buckeyes. Coming up next. All right, welcome into the show, and thank you for watching the little Tailgate Talk. This is brought to you by our friends at Garage Beer. Garage Beer is the perfect beer for all your summer get-togethers. Cookout, Garage Beer, family reunion, Garage Beer, doing yard work, Garage Beer, cruising around on the Ohio River like I did this weekend, and definitely had some Garage Beer and some Garage Beer lime. It's exotic, so go buy some Garage Beer. It's beer-flavored beer. All right, Schlegs, some questions firing at you. Someone fire in and ask, is J.J. Smith out there the first snap of the Ohio State offense?
Yes. Next question. Guys, listen. I mean, he's got to earn it, but I mean, when you watch,
he's earned a lot of it already.
He's guys. Listen, man. Like they had a bike stick tournament and stuff. JJ just wins. It doesn't. Again, remember this: leadership has no age. Playing time has no age. You got to be a senior to play at Ohio State. False. Best players play. Dude goes out there during spring ball, not taking 1 reps. Nothing's given to him. Actually taking 3s. Earned it. Went to the seconds. Got a little bit of dabble in the first. Boom. Now he's running with the 1s. Comes out to camp. Off season, winter conditioning, all that stuff. Summer conditioning. Wins everything. First snap. He'll be starting.
All I do is win, no matter what. That's right. Is that Jeremiah
all
Smith?
I do is win. Yeah. And he's jacked, man. He's like 220.
Yeah, he looked good.
He's a big human being, man.
That's I love having conversations with the coaches about it. And like every day, he's gonna dunk on someone every day. And I don't know if you caught it Thursday when we were talking to President Carter. I looked over, and all of a sudden it's like boom, ball's kind of high, underthrown, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna be good for the DB because he's coming back. I couldn't even see who it was. And then you just see JJ just jump up, rip it away from him, and just take off down the field. I'm like, oh, wasn't even a good ball. And I'm like, the poor guy just gets it done. And he's highly competitive, Schlegs. That's what's the best about him.
Doesn't say anything.
Doesn't say a word. Just comes out and grinds and gets after it. And that's why you love him. Next question here. Will this team be more up-tempo than last year? And potentially, who do you think will have a breakout season on each side of the ball?
Ooh, Bob, you take that one.
Up tempo, I think they'll Ryan, he's always liked to vary tempo. And I think Chip Kelly
Mhm.
likes to do that too. When they were at Oregon, it was like go, go, go. And then I think they realized like, hey, we can do some up tempo, go, go, go. But let's try to figure out what type of game it is. And that's what I really respect about Ryan is understanding now, like just win the surest way. If that means we have to score 52 points, okay. But I think he'd said, hey, you know what? If there's a game where we can score 24 points and control the clock for 37 minutes of the game and take some heat off of our defense because they have a really good offense,
Yeah,
we'll do that as well. So I think there'll be points where they'll get up and go. I think there'll be points for the first time, Schlegs, and I don't know how long since probably Urban got here that this team is going to consistently huddle during a game. We won't have seen that, but now they have the headset communications. They
exactly.
can talk, they can do some different things. So while I think they'll be fast paced some of the time, I also look how this team is built and how good the defense is. And Ryan's probably saying if we can give our defense rest, they can keep teams under 10 points. We can go score 35, 40, but do we really need to try to score 60? Maybe
Right.
some games. There's also a lot of games where let's just come out and be incredibly efficient, don't turn the football over, control the clock, and win this thing in a very dominating and yet medium pace way.
Yeah. I want you to go back on who you're going to think have a breakout. Here's what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to use tempo as a weapon. I think
Mm.
when they feel that they got them on their heels and they have the right personnel for a mismatch against their personnel, they're going to freaking go. I think when somebody makes a substitution or it's a down and distance or exactly what you're talking about, Bob, we don't need to go right now, but we can go do this and get the personnel that we want. Then we'll huddle up because the microphone changes the dynamics of the game in college football. They're already working on that, but I think they want to use tempo as a weapon. I guarantee you, if you haven't heard it, you'll hear Ryan Day talk about that. Same thing with Chip Kelly. And as far as like breaking out, we
How
we
about Jermaine on
yeah,
defense?
Jermaine Matthews. I think he's going to be a guy. I think that people know Tyreek. I think Ty Hamilton stopping the run could be somebody that we haven't said a lot about because Tyreek's going to get a lot of those looks. I think Jermaine's a dog, man, and he could play a lot of different things. He could play corner. He could play nickel. He's going to do a lot of varying things. The hardest thing about picking somebody that's going to break out is that all these guys are really freaking good and we already know them. So it's like, who are you breaking out that you already are talking about, right? Who are you thinking? You thinking Jermaine?
Like I was thinking Jermaine Matthews because he's someone that's probably a little more under the radar. You're looking at Denzel Burke, you're looking at IGB, you got Jordan Hancock. I think he's that next guy. He's probably the third outside corner. And I think he's going to get a lot of run. And like you said, Schlegs, you can move him around. And he's physical, he's tough, he plays with an edge, he plays with a chip. You love to see that. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards him. I think we could see it. We're going to see a lot of CJ Hicks this year. I think, which is a good thing. People have been clamoring him for a long time. He's an
Yep.
Ohio guy, Kettering Alter, athletic linebacker. He's made a bunch of strides, has to continue to work. There's still some things he can clean up. He was on the show a couple weeks ago, incredibly humble and phenomenal young man. Offensively, like you say, Jeremiah Smith, he's never played a game, but everybody already knows him. You know, I think I'll look at the tight end room, and I think the combination of like G Scott and Will Kazmarek, and even Jelani Thurman. We'll
Jelani.
see. We'll see how Jelani has to make some strides. Like he's incredibly talented. He's flashy, consistency. That's what he's got. But I think that room in general is kind of being undersold. Could be able to come out of there and get some things done.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
yeah. So we'll be able to get that done. All right. That was our tailgate talk brought to you by Garage Beer. It's beer flavored beer, folks. It's tremendous. And I got some over my left shoulder there, if you can kind of peek in and see it. Time for our closing segments. We got Hall of Fame inductions here. Jim Harbaugh saying some Jim Harbaugh things, some interesting stuff. The Olympics looks like we have a new fastest man in the world. All coming at you here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and we got a new fastest man in the world, Noah Lyles, United States of America. Would you say Schlegs 9.79 was his time by
979.
500ths of a second is able to get that done, bringing that title back to America. You feel good about it. I know we're excited about it. It's been a little bit of up and down Olympics. Some people underperforming in the pool, some people performing like Katie Ledecky winning the 800 for the fourth time in a row, 16 years Schlegs of dominance. It just think about that, to be at the top of your game. Noah Lyles now getting it done. The Olympics are kind of wrapping up here. Yeah, very, very exciting. And we've had a ton of medals in the United States, but maybe not that quantity of gold that we're used to, but it's starting to maybe turn a little bit here for the old US of A.
We have Hunter Armstrong, Buckeye, won on the 4x100 meter freestyle,
Yep.
gold. Ryan Krauser, 3 times now, first person, first male ever to win 3 shot puts, 3 consecutive Olympics. And Joe Kovacs, third silver medalist as well. But like Ryan Krauser, just an absolute dude. It was great. The stuff that I've been able to catch, I've really enjoyed watching it.
Absolutely. Did you catch any of the Hall of Fame speeches, either just via social media or did you get a chance to watch any of them live?
I watched Randy Gradishar a little bit, just sharing his
Buckeye.
faith, talking about Buckeye, talking about his teammates. And again, like the thing, I'm obviously watching Randy Gradishar, Buckeye linebacker from Trumbull County, Warren, Ohio. And it was funny because then I started looking him up because we'd met him like in passing,
Yeah.
he played for the
Denver.
Orange Crush, right? Denver. But he was 6th in the Heisman voting
Yeah.
in 1973. But then you look at who it was. John Hicks was runner up. Like we know
Yeah.
John from Easy Living. I remember having a conversation with John, but Archie was in his sophomore year and he was 5th, right? So again, just like tremendous, just another Ohio product going to the Hall of Fame. Pretty cool.
I don't know if you remember. He was an honorary captain for us.
He
And I'm
was.
trying. Yeah, that was, I think, our junior year, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, because Snides was there. I
Yeah.
always love telling this story. And I told it when he got announced that he was going to go and get inducted with the like Veterans Council or whatever. I was so pumped because he's very deserving of it. And we always talk about doing your 111s, like do your job. And like you
Yep.
talk about, it's Centerville football, Lancaster, Ohio State, whatever, like especially on defense, just do your job, do your 111. And Snides was coming over. And I think we had, I want to say like Hawk Tulsa or something with a double edge pressure coming. And we both, AJ and I both rush coming off the side. I get the tight end or a tackle fan. I'm pushing up the field. AJ gets the back to him, goes over the top like he's supposed to. Just misses the quarterback. He gets it out. It's incomplete. Maybe get a hit late, and we're off the field. It's all good. Come over to the sideline on the bench, and we're talking. And we sit down, and Randy spins around. And he looks over at AJ. He goes, "Hey, did you have contain on that blitz?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "Come underneath, make the play, be the hero." And Snides is like behind. He's like, "No." Like he waits. He's like, "No, don't do that." I'm like, this guy's like the best linebacker in the conversation in Ohio State history. Okay,
Yeah.
like him,
Yes.
Kuzno, Pepper Johnson, Katzenmoyer, Spiel. Like he's right in there. He's a Hall of Famer. Like
Yep.
I feel like I should be listening to this guy. He's telling you to go be the guy, be the man, make the play.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, and guess what? When you gotta listen, I'm sure there are times where AJ was like, "Bump it," right? Like that's what he would do, and you did too. And again, that goes into how do you know like what's to come, right? Like your preparation allows you to go be the hero and make that split-second decision. But it's awesome in the moment hearing it from that guy when your coach is like, "Be one of 11."
Absolutely. And I'm like, because here's the thing. I told Beam, like, it sounds good. You come underneath, hit somebody else. There might be a free rusher, and then the quarterback's able to get outside. Like, just do your job. Do it as well as you can, execute it at an incredibly high level, but just do your 111. Like, so come
Yeah.
underneath, make the play, be the hero, Randy Gradishar. And it'll forever be burned into my mind as I watched him up there. I thought, this guy did it his own way. He loved to do it, and that's fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have for you today. We're excited, folks. We're going to keep you up to date as we hammer through training camp right here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.